Did anyone else see the poem over the fireplace?
10 Little Sailor Boys? Yes, I saw it.
And here before us as the centerpiece of our table are the 10 little sailor boys themselves, all looking correct and polished.
I like a neat and tidy house, Your Honor.
Robson, the man who built this house, was a sailor. Perhaps Mr. Owen inherited them from him.
Another question for Mr. Owen.
As I remember, the rhyme was about soldier boys. Highly inappropriate, as I recall.
There are many variations.
You seem to know quite a bit about it, Miss Claythorne.
I was a governess before seeking secretarial work. Governesses spend a lot of time with nursery rhymes.
All gratuitously gruesome, if you ask me. So much violence in the world today.
Sometimes violence is necessary, Miss Brent.
There speaks a soldier for you.
A realist, Miss Brent, not a dreamer. If action needs to be taken, I, for one, am fully prepared to take it.
How does the famous rhyme go, Miss Claythorne?
Must we harp on this topic at dinner?
Miss Brent may be right, Mr. Marston. The rhyme is a bit gruesome. It's there over the fireplace in the parlour if you care to have a look later.
If you think so. Excellent meal, Rogers. My compliments to both you and your good woman. You've done your employers proud.
Thank you, sir, ladies and gentlemen. Most gratifying, I'm sure. After dinner drinks will be served in the front parlour.
Ladies and gentlemen, silence please. This is your host, UN Owen. You are charged with the following indictments. Edward George Armstrong, that you did upon the 14th day of March 1925 cause the death of Louisa Mary Cleese. Emily Caroline Brent, that upon the 5th of November 1931 you were responsible for the death of Beatrice Taylor. William Henry Blore, that you brought about the death of James Stephen Landor on October 10th, 1928. Vera Elizabeth Claythorne, that on the 11th day of August 1935 you killed Cyril Ogilvy Hamilton. Philip Lombard, that upon a date in February 1932 you were guilty of the death of 21 men, members of an East African tribe. John Gordon Mackenzie, that on the 4th of January 1917 you deliberately sent your wife's lover Arthur Richmond to his death. Anthony James Marston, that upon the 14th day of November last you were guilty of the murder of John and Lucy Combs. Thomas Rogers and Ethel Rogers, that on the 6th of May 1929 you brought about the death of Jennifer Brady. Lawrence John Wargrave, that upon the 10th day of June 1934 you were guilty of the murder of Edward Seaton. Prisoners at the bar, have you anything to say in your defense?
Doctor! Only fainted, Rogers. I'm sure she'll be fine. Narracott, you get my bag from my room?
Yes, of course.
Stout fellow. Marston, in a moment I'll want help to get her to her room. Of course. Behind the kitchen, is it, Rogers?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. You can use that door.
Vale.
Please, Narracott, I need my bag as soon as possible.
I'll need to wait until the weather lets up a bit. It won't help my brother if I'm drowned in the storm.
O sea, su maletín... No me acuerdo ni lo ha dicho. Lo ha dicho en su habitación. Su habitación es... ¿Por qué me salió esa escena? ¿Porque es la primera vez que voy por aquí o como...? Eso no lo entiendo. ¿Y yo cuál es...? No sé cuál es la habitación. Imagino que el maletín es... En la bolsita esta... No me acuerdo. Esta me lleva abajo, entonces esta no puede ser. Este no es. ¿Este? Maletín, ¿no? Vale, vale. Su maletín. Está aquí. Voy a mirar si se está grabando bien, si se está escuchando. No voy a quitar nada, solo un cortito. No me hace ni corto. No sé, tengo que romper esto. Un momentito. Perdón, sé que soy un cansino cuando hago estas cosas, pero es que no me fío porque hay muchas... Voy a ver si puedo parar.
Nothing else to see about that? I can't take that apart.
Muchas veces
That isn't such a good idea.
me pasa que estoy yo tan campante grabando y de repente me voy a dar la grabación para ver lo que está grabando y no tengo nada. No es coño, me pasa. Imagino que tengo que... ¿Dónde están? La habitación de esta mujer era por aquí, creo, la que estaba abajo. Yo creo que aquí ya no tengo que coger nada, porque ya he investigado todo, yo he cogido todo lo que había por aquí. En esta habitación no. Vale, sí.
Perhaps we can talk later. For now, I must see to my patient. Perhaps we can talk later. For now, I must see to my patient.
Toma.
Thank you, Mr. Narracott. I am in your debt.
Ahora creo que el micrófono se escucha mejor. Yo sé que los dos anteriores capítulos se escuchaban como el orto. ¿Qué pasa? Que no me he dado cuenta y cuando me he puesto a grabar, estaba grabando con el micrófono de la cámara. Yo tengo una cámara, lo sabéis, porque hay 2 o 3 vídeos que salgo yo con mi cara. Y resulta que yo no me di cuenta y por yo que sé, porque le dio el volunto y se cambiaba el micrófono de la cámara y cuando yo estaba grabando esos 2 capítulos era con el micrófono de la cámara. Y se escuchaba mi PC, que mi PC estaba en un punto que iba a eclosionar. Que hoy lo he arreglado, lo he limpiado por dentro, he quitado todos los ventiladores. Me tira por lo menos 4 horas o incluso 5 limpiando mi ordenador. Porque cuando yo una vez lo llevé a arreglar, no furulaba. No sé por qué. O sea, no furulaba el disco duro y lo cambié, pagué por él. Y también pagué porque me limpiase el ordenador. Y no me lo limpiaron. Entonces cuando yo lo he puesto hoy, yo, porque anoche se escuchaba un sonido, se escuchaba un sonido y en plan, ¿qué coño le pasa a esto? Cuando estaba grabando, de hecho, se escuchaba en plan, que yo lo dije y en algún punto, seguramente en algún clip se escuchará que estoy dándole como golpe a la torre, pero no golpe en plan fuerte, sino a la tapa, como para que a ver si se callara o se tranquilizaba. Ahora lo estoy escuchando y no se escucha, en plan, que era en plan... algo así. Ahora no se escucha. Y estoy grabando y jugando. Entonces me puse a buscar la razón, porque yo no lo sabía al principio. Ay, que no puedo poner los cascos. Y busqué la razón y era porque según decía era porque los ventiladores puedan coger suciedad, algo así. Y claro, yo me quedé en plan rayada porque yo había enviado mi PC a limpiar y a arreglar y me quedé con una cara en plan, como que suciedad. Y efectivamente estaba como si no lo hubiesen hecho nada.
Perhaps we can talk later. For now, I must see to my patient.
¿Y ahora qué hago? ¿No? ¿Y a dónde voy? ¿Salgo por el pasillo? No sé qué tengo que hacer. Voy a la habitación, a ver, investigando. Coño, no puedo pasar por aquí. Total. Que lo he arreglado y ahora no se escucha el sonido del haber. Se escucha normal. De verdad que era horrible, era molesto. Y eran las 3 de la mañana, yo estaba grabando, no, a las 3 no. Eran las 2 de la mañana y estaba yo grabando con ese sonido que era en plan... Hola. Ayuda, ¿qué le pasa a mi ordenador? Voy a pasar por aquí, pero si hay alguien. Por aquí no hay nadie más. Voy por aquí.
Now, Rogers, tell us about that extraordinary voice.
It was Mr.
Ah,
Owen,
ya me
sir.
acuerdo.
In his letter, he wrote to me to put it on the gramophone once you were
Eso,
all
me
settled
refiero
in
al disco de
here after dinner.
That was Mr. Owen's voice?
You doubt that it was?
No. I thought I recognized it. I'm sure I'm mistaken.
A disgraceful practical joke.
You think it was a joke?
What else could it be?
I will need to hear more evidence before offering an opinion.
Mr. Marston and I carried Mrs. Rogers to her room. I gave her a mild sedative. She's resting comfortably.
Whoever it was on that recording, that person knows or has taken the trouble to find out a good deal about us all. He was correct about Seton. I presided at the trial, but all I did was execute a guilty man.
I remember the case. As I recall, there was some talk.
Happily, guilt and innocence are decided by those of us qualified to make a judgment, not by gossip. Of course, there is one omission in that recording. Mr. Narracott, of course. Although to hear Mr. Blore tell it, he might have earned a place on that list had Mr. Owen been so inclined.
Vale, y vaya gramófono, porque con esta gente no puedo hablar. Voy a guardar. Es que me da miedo cuando yo hago algo y de repente... Que por esto, si veis que estoy hablando como si fuese el día siguiente, es que es el día siguiente. Yo dejé de grabar cuando se quedaron las chicas tirando el suelo.
Any truth to the accusation against you?
It's a matter of interpretation, you understand. But I'd have to say...
¡Hostia!
Yes.
Will you tell me how it happened?
Elderly woman. Poor devil. I'd been up all night with an emergency case. My nerves were shot. Hands shaking. But I had to operate. I had to try and save her. I had a pick-me-up or two to steady myself, but I bungled it. It wasn't the drink, I swear. It was an accident. Could have happened to anyone in my profession.
No fue lo que vivió. Sí fue. Si has bebido y estás trabajando en una operación, implica. Cállame loca, pero implica.
What brought you here to Shipwreck Island?
Owen sent me a note, asking me to have a look at his wife, who's been suffering from arthritis and muscle spasms.
Yo creo que era mentira.
What was the gossip concerning the Seton case?
I'm not one to spread gossip to just anyone about a man as distinguished as Justice Wargrave. If I were certain about it, perhaps. But I'm not.
Thank you for your time, Doctor.
Vale. Voy a hablar con todos, si se me permite.
Any truth to the accusation against you?
Para
The name
enterarnos.
sounded vaguely familiar. I expect it will come to me.
What brought you
Esta
here to
es de la nota
Shipwreck
que estaba
Island?
ahí antes, ¿no? La
Got a
otra.
wire from a pal of mine, Badger Barkley. Surprised me at the time because I had an idea the old horse had gone to Norway. Told me to roll up here.
Thanks, Marston. Any truth to the accusation against you?
It's true we were the only ones there the night Miss Brady died. But she was always in poor health. Always. From the time we came to her.
Will you tell me how it happened?
There was a storm, as fierce as the one brewing outside right now when she was taken bad. The telephone was out of order. I went for the doctor on foot, but he got there too late.
Were you mentioned in the will?
Barely. Certainly not what we were led to believe. She was just saying it, you see, to ensure our devotion to her. Beg pardon. I'm not sure what came over me just then. The strain of tonight, I expect, and worry over Mrs. Rogers, of course.
What brought you here to Shipwreck Island?
We expected to finally meet Mr. and Mrs. Owen today. Ethel didn't want to take the job, but I insisted. I'm beginning to wish I'd listened to her.
Very kind of you to give me your time, Mr. Rogers.
Vale, la conecto este porque se me sigue mirando. No puedo pasar por ahí. Voy a hablar con esta gente. Y con esto. Vale, pero primero con esta cosa de aquí. Vale.
Any truth to the accusation against you?
Look, Narracott, if that's what you want to call yourself. The rules have changed. Can't you see that? The past is past. It's the present we should be worrying about. Something is not right here.
Will you tell me how it happened?
All right. Perhaps I was doing the odd favor for the Purcells. But if your brother was framed, I had nothing to do with it. Yes, they paid me to perjure myself about Landor. Thanks to them, I was able to put enough away to set up my own detective agency. Nothing fancy, but I've been straight ever since, I swear.
Landor died.
He got penal servitude for life and died in Dartmoor a year later. Not my fault he was such a delicate man.
What brought you here to Shipwreck Island?
I run a little detective agency in Plymouth these days. I'm on a job. To protect Mrs. Owen's jewels, the letter said. Mrs. Owen, my foot. I don't believe there's any such person.
That is all for now, Mr. Bloor. Any truth to the accusation against you?
I have always acted in accordance with the dictates of my conscience. I have nothing with which to reproach myself.
Will you tell me how it happened?
It was some time before I found out she was what they call in trouble. Her parents were decent folk, too. I'm glad to say they did not condone her behavior when I told them of it.
What happened to Beatrice?
Naturally, I did not keep her an hour under my roof. No one shall ever say that Emily Brent condoned immorality.
How did she die?
Not content with having one sin on her conscience, she committed a still graver sin. She took her own life, threw herself in the river. If she had behaved like a decent young woman, she'd be alive today.
You have no regrets?
She made an excellent breakfast. I missed that. Fresh juice every day.
What brought you here to Shipwreck Island?
I received a letter with a signature that was not very easy to read. It purported to be from a woman I'd met at a certain summer resort 2 or 3 years ago. I am quite certain I
Y
have
lo
never
normal es
met
que no creo que
or
esa
become
persona,
friendly with anyone
pero
with the
acepta la
name.
invitación. Y si es un asesinato, que lo es, no de que vaya el juego.
I overheard you mention St. Trednick to Miss Claythorne.
I was staying at a seaside hotel near St. Trednick this same week of August 4 years ago. That boy Cyril Hamilton drowned near there. It was the talk of the town. His half-brother was much older. Hugo, I think his name was. Cyril was a vile child, by all accounts, but first in line for the family title and estates. When he died, it all went to Hugo. He was just about Miss Claythorne's age. There was talk of something between them.
You're suggesting Vera let the boy drown so the man she loved could inherit?
That would be idle gossip. I don't indulge in idle gossip. I've only told you the facts of the case as I remember them.
Thank you, Miss Brent.